What's going on, beautiful people? It is I, your flying locomotive and faster than a speeding bullet SuperCliff, coming at you live with a brand new video. And for today's video, we have ourselves a Captain America session, for we have Captain America Sentinel of Liberty issue number 4. But before we get stoic and patriotic with Marvel's red, white, and blue superhero, if you are new to the channel, then smash that like and subscribe button. That way you guys never miss out on anything that's happening on this lovely and majestic channel. And because we managed to cross over 1,000 subs, golf clap, let's raise the bar and go full on Super Saiyan as we try to get 200 more subs before the end of 2022. Thus, without further ado, let's get hyped for some Captain America. Our story begins with Steve Rogers taking a shower. No, legit folks, he is taking a shower. But the reason for this is simple. Steve is back in the States. He is back home in his apartment, decompressing from his trip from Germany against the Outer Circle. And while Steve is getting back to his regular life, he starts having some memories about his mother, back when she would always tell him that God has a plan for everyone. God has a plan for everything and everything that you think of. It's all part of God's plan. And of course, a young Steve Rogers would take comfort to those words. But now a centuries-year-old Steve Rogers, who's currently cracking down a global conspiracy, is starting to question the concept of God's plan. Does God have a plan? Or is it just one of those things that, you tell people in order to help them sleep better at night? Basically, the question is if it's really God's plan, or is it theirs, the Outer Circle? From there, Steve heads out to meet up with Bucky Barnes, because much like Steve, Bucky also has been conducting his own little investigation into the Outer Circle as well. And this is where both heroes sort of merge their collected data into one. And the basic consensus is that the Outer Circle are a secret group composed of 5 individuals who possess unparalleled access to the entire world. And these individuals are as followed: the power, the money, the machine, the love, and the revolution. And according to Steve, they were originally going to use him as their own super soldier hitman, their go-to guy to make sure that everything the Outer Circle wanted happened the way they wanted it to happen. But it turned out that the maker of the Cap Shield was able to stop this from being a thing. However, the group wouldn't pull the plug when it came to getting someone who can get their shit done for them, because that's where Bucky comes into play. Because another thing that's a part of the bloody and secret life of the Winter Soldier was being a star point for the Outer Circle. But Steve doesn't care, because he knows that the real Bucky Barnes wouldn't have done it if he hadn't been brainwashed to be the Winter Soldier. And thus the two best friends give each other a hug. Now it's after this where Steve conducts a plan on how to take down the Outer Circle. But before he does any of that sort, we instead follow Steve throughout his entire day, where Steve visits the kid he's been training to fight in order to help him from being bullied. And it's here where the two have a lovely conversation about the circle of violence, and how the kid should only use violence in the defense of others or for himself. He should never actively seek it out, which is quite the important lesson that everyone should take, because it's true. You shouldn't look for violence. Let's all just love the love. From there, Steve goes to his art class. By the way, I love how Steve Rogers is taking an art class. I don't know why, but I just find that to be hilarious. Anyways, I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers. Now Steve is in his art class, and this is where him and his friends start talking about the shield and what the shield means to everyone. Now for Steve, at this moment right now, the shield reminds him of the Outer Circle because the star is the organization's symbol. So for him, he's having a hard time when it comes to the symbolic nature of the shield. However, Steve gets different views from all of his friends. While some say the shield represents corruption and injustice, others say it symbolizes hope, the possibility to dream and to do something better, a symbol of change. After that, we check in with Steve visiting one of his old bar hangouts, a hangout for all the dock workers. And this is sort of filled with your average sea workers. The rough-looking folk who would be hired to hunt down a shark, like in the movie Jaws. And yes, that's how my brain works. Dock workers. Gotta love them. Now Steve here is chatting with his bud Arlo, because he wants to get a different perspective on what the shield represents. And yes, though these two are talking about politics, the manner that it's being done isn't being shoved into the face of the reader. So everyone just take a deep breath and cool, alright? We can do this. Ready, set, go. Now when it comes to Arlo, he believes that socialism, who's been rooted throughout the history of America since the beginning. And here he makes an interesting argument when it comes to military and socialism. Because when it comes to the military, every soldier's needs are met. Their pay is low, but they're still doing it for the greater good of the country. However, the difference between a pawn and someone like Captain America is that Steve will do the right thing. He won't just follow orders blindly, because He's a good man. He'll make sure that no one from an ideological standpoint, the government, or anyone will ever own him. And thus, this is where we reach the last segment of this comic. Because another thing to keep in mind is that the fact that the redacted baddie that Steve fought in the previous issue was using its cloaked technology this entire time. It's been following Steve for the entire day, waiting around so it can just strike when Steve was alone. But surprisingly, Steve knew it was here the entire time. And this was actually a part of Steve's plan, because the entire day, Steve spent talking to different people. But in reality, Steve was talking to the robot. He was testing his morality. Basically, he was explaining that there is something to life that is better than just simply being a pawn. And heck, if the robot is willing to join Steve in taking out the Outer Circle, then they can actually end this authoritarian cabal once and for all. And thus the robot and Steve joined forces. But wait, there's more, because once the update comes through that the redacted robot is no longer under the Outer Circle's influence, we see one of the group's leaders smile like a sinister villain, with his last words being Captain America to the Shadow Capital. And that, folks, was the end of Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, issue number 4. And thank you guys for checking out my video, as it truly, truly means the world to me. I think it's safe to say that writers Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly understand Steve Rogers times 3000. And how do I know that? Well, because Steve Rogers at the end of the day is a good man. Before he was even Captain America, and after he received the super soldier serum, Steve has stayed a good person, and he has shown compassion. And that is without a doubt a quintessential Cap attribute a writer must showcase for a Steve Rogers story. And these two writers get it. They do that exactly. What's also great about this comic was the fact that not a lot happens regarding the plot. However, that's subbed in for some downtime, as we get the everyday life of Steve Rogers. We get to see him go to Bucky, him attending to his daily meetings and events, and serious engagements, where one understands that the serum didn't make Captain America. Steve Rogers has always been Captain America, and no matter the odds or the overwhelming force of evil that stands before him, Steve will always fight. He will always do the right thing, which is why I can't wait to find out how Bucky and Steve take on the Outer Circle. And the fact that Steve was able to recruit the robotic cloaked soldier, who was spying on him throughout the entire issue, simply by using words, was straight up badass. But yeah, as always, I'm your majestic sayer of words, SuperCliff, and if you guys are new to the channel, then do me a solid by smashing that like and subscribe button, and also the notification bell so that you'll never miss out on an upload, and so that you'll always be kept up to date with your favorite top tier comics happening in the comic book world. Now tell me, what are your thoughts and opinions on this issue? Are you guys excited for issue number 5? And what are your thoughts on Captain America New World Order, starring the leader as the main villain? I personally think that's dope. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section below. And until the next video, peace. Giggity goo.